to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we dig in deep to analyze the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. I'm Andy Nelson from thenextreel.com.
And I'm Pete Wright, also from The Next Reel.
It is the middle of the week. We're looking at Jon Favreau's 2008 film Iron Man, and back with us is Kathy Campbell from SestraCast. Hey, Kathy.
Hello.
We're midway through our journey with you this week on Iron Man.
Yeah, I am. It's been very interesting to watch these minutes. So for SestraCast, we watch episodes of Orphan Black, and then we talk about each episode. And I thought that was going deep into the weeds on that, but we're talking about 60 seconds of time, and that's even harder.
It's very specific. It is very
Yes.
specific.
Our follow-up, we're going to do the Incredible Hulk 60 frames at a time. It's going to take us about 70 years. I can't wait.
Oh, that will be an interesting experiment.
Right.
Well, on today's show, we are looking at Iron Man Minute 83. The minute starts with Iron Man deploying his air brakes, and it ends with Whiplash 2 starting to roll. Do you guys remember the old Looney Tune cartoons where Bugs Bunny was like in a plane that was crashing, and then all of a sudden at the end of the cartoon, his plane would stop midair, like feet away from the ground, and he would look at the camera and go, "Yeah, air brakes."
I totally remember that. Are you kidding?
That's what I always think of when he pulls his air brakes here. It's like his Bugs Bunny moment.
I feel like
Yes.
that's, now that you say, I hadn't made that connection at all. I feel like that's a nod to Bugs Bunny. It's got to be
hope it
because he
is.
just stops. It makes, headcanon.
Yep.
Headcanon.
I'm
I
so
love
here
it.
for this.
Yes.
100%.
It also is just so cool. The way that like his flaps open up and he's just like, it's almost like he's a
Yeah.
kite now. Like you just need a string.
Yes. Iron Kite.
They should make a kite that looks like this with Iron Man with his arms out and his flaps deployed.
They kind of do.
They do?
I mean, it doesn't have necessarily the like actual deployable flaps, but I'm looking at a kite that has zoomy things, and
Oh my goodness.
I think I want this.
I need this kite in my life. Pro Kite USA, yes.
Oh, look at that. It's almost like he's got like the little Spider-Man webs under his armpits.
So not quite exactly what you're looking for, but I feel like it's a close approximation to
It's
make
getting
it
close.
work. Yeah.
It's getting
What it
close.
really looks like? It looks like he's leaking RT fluid out of his hands and feet.
It does, because I'm sure that's where they attach the string, and so it
That's
needs
the
something a little
juice.
bit more, but man.
Yeah.
Don't stand under Iron Man.
Oh, don't stand under the juice.
This is this great moment, and I like how they say that they lost his. I can't remember what he says, but he lost his sat visuals. I think I like how you can actually, when you're looking at the screen with the like after he drops and the pilots are like, "Whoa!" You cut back into the ComSat room and you see the monitors and you see his little blip, and true enough, it disappears from the screen. It's kind of a nice little touch. I think they do a lot of nice tricks with these monitors to make it work nicely.
Yeah, but it makes me wonder like how it actually dropped out. Because it actually at second 4, it like he disappears off, because I'm looking at the middle screens where you see him in arrangement with the two planes, which have different shapes as well in the bottom one. I don't know if that's just the air, like the digitalization of what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
But he disappears in the middle between the two planes, and yet somehow manages to get under one of the others. this lost the believability for me. It has nothing to do, there's a man flying through the air, but this right here, no, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what? This is really interesting. Look instead. So if you're going frame by frame, audience, if you're going frame by frame along with us, yeah. From there, look at the front lower right screen instead of that one in the on the wall in the middle, and he rolls. It's like he rolls down out of frame. And so it's almost like the resolution wasn't great enough on the big screen to show you where he went. So he just disappears. But on that little screen, you actually see that he falls off to the bottom. It's like he moves over.
I assumed that was just the mountains, in the bottom of that screen. Just kind of not lined up. But this would make so much more sense if it was him actually just rolling out of the screen. Okay, believability is back.
Oh, thank goodness. We dodged the bullet on that one.
You saved it.
Wow. You're welcome, Iron Man.
It is, you do have to wonder, though, because when he pulls his air brakes, he drops back so fast behind the planes. And you'd think that, okay, so he will have to catch up to them. So it's at some point, I would think that he will pop up back on the screen. It's not like, I don't know. It's a very tricky thing for him to get to the bottom of the belly of one of these planes without ever popping back up on radar again.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry to crush the believability again, but
no. It stuck with me. I'm still with it. It's hard. It's a hard thing, Andy. But as we know, we do hard things.
That's what we're here for. We got to do the hard things.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I'm sure he does a super awesome. What did we call it? Loopy doopy.
Flippy dippy.
Flippy
dippy.
Yeah. Flippy dippy to somehow speed up again to be even with the plane on the bottom. I don't know. You know what? It's fine. We'll just continue on with the movie because physics aren't exactly working, and that is okay. It's still an enjoyable film.
It still ends up working. It does.
Yes.
We so after he disappears, everybody's kind of convinced that they got him, and we kind of get these looks around the place, and then the phone rings. Good old Rhodey's LG Verizon phone rings. Yes. as we see. I feel like I have this exact phone around this time. I love this so much that when he picks it up and it has Tony's picture on it, he has him named the Starkster.
Yes.
I know.
It's so perfect.
And is this a picture that he took in Vegas? Like, it feels like this is straight out of the Vegas that we saw in the very beginning.
Totally feels that way.
To me, it feels like it's a paparazzi photo. Like, he went to Google. Was Google Images a thing yet? I don't know. But he went to Google Images and was just like, you know what? I can't get Tony to stop and take a picture of it. So I'm going to just steal this one off of Google Photos and plug in my phone. And if I download it and then upload it using the Verizon fancy software that they had to get things onto the phone back then, or maybe text it. Who knows? He may have even used the internet button that takes 30 years to go and costs $800 million to get that photo onto his phone. But right. I'm here for it.
Google Images was released in July 12th, 2001.
Okay.
Hey, there you go.
And yes. And so, yes, it very well could have done this. Reverse image search wasn't introduced until 2011.
Okay.
So he couldn't search for Tony with the fat sunglasses. But
I feel like Rhodey is with Tony enough, though, that he could grab that pretty easily.
And the face of Tony is like, why are you taking a picture of me, dude?
It totally is.
Right.
And we get the Iron Man, the animated cartoon theme song back again as his wonderful ringtone.
Yes.
Is this a weird line that this movie's playing with this theme being diegetic music?
I think it is a weird line, especially when Tony has the standard Verizon ringtone. Yeah. Why does Rhodey get the cartoon ringtone? I don't get it. It's like the wrong character.
Yeah.
It's a strange choice. It would have made more sense for Iron Man for when Rhodey called him for this to play in his head.
Although I kind of am sensing more believability if that Rhodey has the Iron Man ringtone, because I feel like he would, pay to be part of the Iron Man fan club. And so this is kind of a way to have that connection with his buddy, even though he doesn't really know that it's there. But I can see it being his choice. It was like, oh, hey, this song sounds great. We'll choose this one. And it ends up being, and then Tony takes it for his theme song in the future.
I like that idea that Tony stole the theme song from Rhodey, who just had it as his ringtone. This whole thing with now Tony revealing who he is to Rhodey, I think it's a great moment, and it's done in such a well-written way where it's like, yeah, it's me. I love the way that it plays out in their conversation, because you don't, even as an audience, you don't quite get that he's just saying, he's coming out and fessing up that it's me. I am this guy. Please stop shooting at me.
Right. right. You think it's me. It's Stark Enterprises stuff. It's more Stark stuff.
Or it's just like, it's me on the other end of the phone is how yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah. Hey, it's Tony. The person that when they leave a voicemail,
that's not how I heard
hey,
that.
It's Tony. I'm just calling to check in, when everyone knows that it's Tony, because if your voicemail is actually working, it'll have the name attached to it.
Right. That's funny. That's not how I heard it at all. I thought he was coming clean about being in the area with Stark technology.
Oh, interesting.
And so I didn't hear the voicemail thing at all, but I hate phones.
Yeah.
So maybe I just don't know that stuff.
The Jon Favreau calls the whole thing when we see where Tony is, the fact that he's on the belly of the plane. He says that it's a little nod to Star Wars when we see in Empire Strikes Back that the Millennium Falcon is hiding out on the side of the Star Destroyer.
This is the right kind of homage.
Yeah, this is how you do it.
Yep.
No Jar Jar Binks.
That would be an odd homage to have thrown in here.
Yeah. I really like, so when they're flashing back to Tony and he's talking to him, he's obviously stressed out. His eyes are closed as he's talking, he's kind of furrowed brow. There's red marks on the HUD display, all of this going off. It's not easy to hang onto a really fast plane by your fingertips or whatever, because I don't think he has any sort of magnetic suction cups or anything. I don't know.
Totally, he needs to have.
Not yet.
Right.
Suction
After
cups.
this incident, Jarvis
stat
recommends things.
There's an interesting shot.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
There's an interesting shot. We were talking about the supersonic shot that gave me such fits the other day. At right around 45 seconds, 46, we cut to this shot where we're outside of, I don't know, is that Whiplash 2?
He's holding on to Whiplash 2. Whiplash 1 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are on the other side of Whiplash 1. So we see the pilot, but we're clearly outside the cockpit.
Right.
The pilot looks over at the plane next to him, and the camera moves almost through the cockpit, but not quite. It's really just a zoom, but we're kind of taking on the POV of the pilot in that camera move.
Yeah.
And it's dirty and out of focus, and it clearly looks like something that I'm seeing in the cockpit. And this is one of those things. Later, we see that totally cleaned up. Right. The next shot, it cuts back to his eyes. And the next shot, we actually see what that looks like cleaned up. That is exactly the kind of clever perspective change and changing the look of the actual shot itself that makes total sense to me in a way that other shot 2 days ago did not.
The moisture on the lens shot.
The moisture on the lens shot.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I like the choices that they made. Almost as if, because it's believable that they just zoomed in the camera on the outside of the cockpit. I mean, believable with quotation marks around it. So there's 2 layers of the plexiglass or whatever bubble they have, which is why it's extra distorted and dirty and whatnot. And it was a very interesting choice. I like that, it doesn't follow it. It's very loose and bouncy because the camera, it's like they have a GoPro attached to the outside of the plane as they're really shooting. Yeah.
It's the Battlestar Galactica cam.
Yes.
Right. It works so nicely to the way that they play with that. And yeah, you're right. But this is something that Favreau does quite a bit. And we've seen it a number of times in these action sequences. And it really works to kind of give us that sense of really being there, whether it's in the cave in Afghanistan or here up in the skies over Afghanistan. It has such a great sense of presence, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The script is not horribly different, but when he reveals himself to Rhodey, it's slightly different. It's slightly silly. It's slightly different. It says Tony actually calls the office, and an officer answers and transfers him to Rhodey, which I think is funny. And then Tony says, Rhodey, I had Jarvis run a check. I might have some info on that UAV. A piece of gear like that might definitely exist. And then Rhodey speaks low away from the major. Rhodey says, wouldn't happen to be red and gold, would it? And that's their little conversation that they have, which I don't know. It's a strange one. I don't feel like I like that.
No, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Include that because this makes it feel more. I can't believe I'm going to use the word believable, but the connection that they have, where Tony's scared because he almost got shot to death, and is barely hanging on the bottom of the plane. He's gripping with all of his mechanical fingers, probably sweaty and exhausted and gross and scared, and having that almost would take it out of it. Whereas here he's like calling his buddy and being like, oh, hey, by the way, it's me. Like, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me anymore. Please.
Don't hurt me. Uncle.
Yes.
I think that's a really good point because first of all, as cheeky and funny as it would be to have him have to call a receptionist to get transferred to Rhodey, like that is not believable. No. I say, noting that Kathy Campbell just single-handedly made this show a drinking game. It's not believable because they're buddies. They are friends. Like we need, as weird as that may be from Tony's perspective to have those kinds of relationships, they are friends and he needs to have that direct line and he needs to have this as a moment of confession.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like.
Yes. The trust of, hey, I lied to you before. It actually is me. Please call your people off.
Yeah.
Because once again, I'm sorry.
Make it stop.
Well, especially because he had a conversation with Rhodey earlier in the film when he was starting initially to develop these suits. And he went into Rhodey and he was all excited. He's like, it's something big. I want you to come over and look at it. And when Rhodey found out that it wasn't, getting back in line with doing the military, the weapons, he's just like, you got to get your head straight and everything. And that's the last time that they've talked. And so this is kind of, a confessional saying there's more that I'm doing and this is what it is. And, I want, I still want you to be a part of it. But I'm letting you in on my secret now. And I think that's a big moment for him. Obviously, it will be even bigger as the character Rhodey becomes a much more prevalent role in the franchise as it continues.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's we were talking about our cast for our pilots and the voiceover actor that we have doing the lines for Whiplash 1 as he sees the as he sees the man on the underside of the suit. I just have to say, listening to his line over and over again, I started just really thinking it just sounded so funny because it's just like, on your belly, it looks like a man.
A man.
A man.
A man.
Heavens.
It really starts coming across wrong the more you listen to it. It's like, there's probably a better way to read that line, but I don't know. It's a weird line to read anyway.
On your belly. He's actually, the only thing that may improve it is if he were fanning himself gently with his right hand. My goodness. It's a man.
In your private place.
Do you know you have a man on your belly?
Well, I declare. Oh, I don't have anything else for this minute. So what about you guys?
I'm relieved to say I do not.
Yep. I think we're pretty much done. Although I do really enjoy kind of the dangling feet at the very last, like, second and a half, where his feet are just kind of like going back and forth as he's trying desperately to hang on. Just the filming of that, I'm sure, was not as fun as it is to watch and scroll back and forth on the file as the legs and body just go all over the place.
Well, this is why he also needs suction cups on his toes.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Oh, well, Kathy, thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an absolute delight.
Where can people find you out there on the interwebs?
Yeah, you can find me. My username pretty much everywhere is Mrs. Soup, and you can find links out to everything that I do at kathycampbell.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, everybody, that is it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the show for free at marvelmovieminute.com. Join us over in our Discord chat room and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Next Reel. And if you like what we do and you want to support us and get some cool stuff, become a patron over at thenextreel.com/Patreon. Until next time, true believers.